The alien city of Zera Prime never slept. Bright lights floated in the air like stars that forgot the sky. Tall metal towers touched the clouds. Flying vehicles moved quietly above the streets. The city was rich, powerful, and full of life. But on the ground, near a busy food market, two small figures sat in the shadows. They were alien sisters. The older sister's name was Lyra. She was small but tried to sit tall. Her skin was pale blue, and her eyes were large and tired. She held her younger sister close, wrapping her thin arms around her to keep her warm. The younger one was Mira. Mira was very weak. Her legs shook. Her stomach made soft sounds, asking for food that never came. She had not eaten since yesterday morning. Her eyes were wet and her lips trembled. All around them, life moved fast. Alien traders shouted prices. Machines cooked food that smelled sweet and warm. Plates were full. Cups overflowed with glowing drinks. Laughter filled the air. But none of it was for the sisters. They had been sitting there since sunrise. Lyra watched the market carefully. Every time an alien walked past, her heart jumped. She hoped someone would stop. She hoped someone would look down and see them. No one did. Some aliens looked at them for a second, then turned away. Some moved faster, as if the sisters were a problem they did not want to see. Others stepped around them like they were broken objects on the street. Myra pulled Lyra's sleeve gently. "Lyra, I'm hungry," she whispered. Lyra swallowed hard. Her own stomach burned with pain, but she forced a small smile. "I know," she said softly. "Just wait a little more. Someone will help us." She did not know if that was true. Hours passed. The lights in the sky changed color, showing that the day was moving on. Mira's head fell against Lyra's shoulder. Her eyes slowly closed, then opened again. She was trying to stay awake. A food cart stopped nearby. A group of alien workers laughed and ate together. Mira watched them. Her eyes followed a piece of warm bread as it moved from plate to mouth. Tears filled her eyes. She tried to be quiet, but the pain was too much. Mira began to cry. At first, it was only soft sounds. Small breaths that shook her body. Lyra held her tighter. "Please don't cry," Lyra whispered. "Please." But the tears did not stop. They rolled down Mira's cheeks and fell onto the cold metal ground. Clear tears. Honest tears. Tears that asked for nothing more than food and kindness. Still, no one stopped. A security drone floated past them. Its red eye scanned the street. It did not slow down. It did not care. Lyra looked up at the tall buildings. She remembered their home. She remembered their parents. She remembered warm nights and shared meals. All gone, her parents had disappeared weeks ago. Taken away during a city cleanup. That was what the guards called it. After that, no one came back for the sisters. They were too small. Too weak, too unimportant. Mira's crying grew louder. Some aliens frowned. One alien made an angry sound and moved away. Another looked annoyed and turned his back. Lyra felt something break inside her chest. She bowed her head and closed her eyes. "I'm sorry," she whispered to her sister. "I tried." At that moment, a deep sound shook the street. Boom! The ground vibrated. Lights flickered. Aliens stopped walking. Voices went silent. A large shadow covered the market. Lyra opened her eyes slowly. Above the city, a ship was coming down. It was different from alien ships. Its shape was rough. Its metal was dark. It did not glow or shine. It looked strong. It looked old. It looked human. People stepped back. Guards raised their weapons. Whispers filled the air. A human ship. Why is it here? Humans don't come alone. The ship landed with a loud hiss. Steam rose from the ground. A door opened. Lyra did not know what a human was, but she felt something strange in her heart. Something she had not felt in a long time. Hope. Mira's crying slowly stopped. She lifted her head and looked at the ship with weak eyes. Lyra held her sister close and watched. For the first time all day, the city was quiet. And for the first time, someone was about to notice their tears. The market stayed silent as the human ship rested on the ground. Steam moved slowly around its dark metal body. The air felt heavy, like the city itself was holding its breath. Aliens stood still. Guards tightened their grip on their weapons. No one knew why a human had come to Zero Prime. Then the ship door opened wider. A human stepped out. He was tall, with tired eyes and a face marked by old scars. His armor was scratched and worn, not shiny like alien guards. A small human symbol was carved into his chest plate. He moved slowly, carefully, as if he did not want to scare anyone. His name was Ethan. Ethan paused at the bottom of the ship's ramp. He looked around the busy market that was no longer busy. He saw fear, anger, and curiosity on alien faces. He had seen these looks before on many worlds. He took a deep breath and stepped forward. Alien guards shouted warnings. Some pointed weapons at him. Others told people to move away. Ethan raised one hand, empty and open. "I'm not here to fight," he said in calm, simple words. Most aliens did not understand his language, but they understood the tone. Still, no one moved closer. Ethan walked through the market slowly. He noticed the food stalls, the full plates, the wasted scraps thrown on the ground. His eyes moved from face to face, reading the city like a book. Then he heard it. A small sound. Not loud, not angry. A soft, broken breath. Ethan stopped. He turned his head. In the shadow between two stalls, he saw them. Two small alien children. One was holding the other tightly. The smaller one looked weak. Her face was wet with tears. The older one looked afraid but brave at the same time. Ethan's heart dropped. He walked closer, ignoring the guards shouting behind him. When Lyra saw the human coming toward them, her body froze. She pulled Mira closer, ready to protect her with her own small body. Ethan knelt down slowly, making himself smaller. He removed his helmet. His eyes were gentle. "It's okay," he said softly. "I won't hurt you." Of course, the sisters did not understand his words, but they understood his voice. Mira looked at him with wide eyes. She had never seen a human before. She did not know why this strange being looked sad when he saw her. Ethan noticed her shaking hands. He noticed her thin body. He noticed the way Lyra's arms trembled from holding her up for too long. He reached into his pack. Alien guards shouted again. Some stepped forward. Ethan stopped and looked at them. "Let me do this," he said firmly. Slowly, he pulled out a small food pack. Human emergency food, simple, warm. He opened it and held it out. Lyra hesitated. She looked around. She expected someone to stop him. She expected someone to punish them. No one did. Mira sniffed the air. Food. Real food. Her small hand reached out without thinking. She took a bite. Her eyes widened. She began to eat quickly, then slower, like she was afraid it might disappear. Tears fell again, but this time they were different. Lyra felt her own eyes burn. Ethan watched quietly. He did not smile. He did not speak. He simply stayed there, making sure Mira was safe. When Mira finished eating, she leaned against Lyra and closed her eyes. Ethan exhaled slowly. He stood up and looked around. "Why?" he asked aloud. "Why are children starving in a city like this?" Some aliens turned away. Some looked angry. Some looked ashamed. An old alien merchant stepped forward. "They are weak ones," the merchant said coldly. "Not our problem." Ethan's hands tightened into fists. He looked back at the sisters. Two small lives, forgotten, ignored. He had seen war. He had seen death. But this hurt more. Ethan made a silent promise in his heart. He would not walk away. Not today. Not from them. As guards moved closer, Ethan placed himself between the sisters and the city. The human had noticed their tears. And Zero Prime would never be the same again. Asterisk, the market slowly returned to life. But something had changed. People talked in low voices. Eyes followed the human wherever he moved. Guards stood closer now, watching Ethan with sharp focus. The sisters sat behind him, hidden by his shadow, as if that shadow itself was protecting them. Ethan felt it. The city was smiling on the outside, but inside it was broken. He stayed near the sisters. He gave them water from his pack. Mira drank carefully, her small hands shaking less now. Lyra watched Ethan with careful eyes. She did not fully trust him yet, but she knew one thing. He was the first one who stopped. Ethan looked around and noticed something strange. No other alien children were near the market. Only adults. Only strong ones. Only those who looked full and healthy. That was not normal. He stood up slowly and walked toward a nearby food stall. The stall owner stiffened when the human approached. Why were they ignored? Ethan asked calmly. The stall owner did not answer. Ethan placed a small metal coin on the counter. Human trade metal. Rare and valuable. The alien's eyes moved to the coin. They are low class, the stall owner said quietly. Street-born. Their kind is not allowed to buy here. Ethan frowned. Children are children, he said. The alien shook his head. Not in Zero Prime. Ethan stepped away, anger burning behind his eyes. He walked through narrow paths behind the market, listening, watching. He had learned long ago that cities speak when you stop and listen. Behind a storage building, he heard voices. Two alien guards stood near a door, talking carelessly. They should have been collected already, one guard said. The sisters? The other replied. Yeah, their parents were taken weeks ago. The kids were marked after that. Marked for what? The first guard laughed. Removal. They slow the city. No work value. No food value. Ethan's blood turned cold. He stepped back into the shadows quietly. Removal. He knew that word. Humans had used it once too. Long ago. Before they learned how wrong it was. Ethan returned to the sisters. Lyra noticed his face had changed. His jaw was tight. His eyes were darker. What's wrong? She asked softly in her own language. Ethan did not understand the words, but he understood fear. He knelt again, lowering himself to their level. He placed a hand on his chest and then pointed gently toward them. Safe, he said. Then he shook his head and pointed toward the city. Not safe. Lyra understood enough. Her eyes widened. She looked down at Mira, then back at Ethan. Our parents, Lyra said quietly. Gone. Ethan closed his eyes for a moment. That was enough. As night began to fall, lights across the city grew brighter. Drones floated lower. Guards increased in number. The city was preparing for something. Ethan guided the sisters away from the open market. He found a narrow space between old buildings, hidden from main streets. He gave them a thermal blanket from his pack. Myra slept almost instantly. Lyra stayed awake. Why help us? She asked, her voice small. Ethan thought for a moment. He searched for simple words. Because, he said slowly. Someone should have helped me once too. Lyra did not fully understand. But she felt the truth in his voice. Suddenly, a loud announcement echoed through the streets. Alien words filled the air. Drones moved in patterns. Guards spread out. Lyra's heart began to race. "They're coming," she whispered. Ethan stood up. He activated a small device on his wrist. A soft blue light blinked. A signal. Far away, beyond the city. Something heard it. Ethan looked down at the sisters. "I won't let them take you," he said firmly. Footsteps echoed nearby. Shadows moved closer. The guards were searching. Lyra hugged Myra tightly. Ethan stepped forward, placing his body between the sisters and the darkness. In that moment, he knew the truth. This was no longer just about two hungry children. This was about a city that forgot its heart, and a human who refused to forget his asterisk. Night covered Zero Prime like a dark blanket. The city lights burned brighter, hiding the stars. Drones moved in slow lines above the streets. Their soft humming sounded like insects hunting in the dark. Guards walked in groups now, their boots striking the metal ground in hard rhythm. Ethan stood still in the narrow alley. In front of him were the guards. Behind him were the sisters. Lyra held Myra close, trying to keep her quiet. Myra was half awake, her small body weak but warm under the human blanket. Her eyes opened for a second, then closed again. Ethan raised both hands slowly. "I'm just a traveler," he said calmly. The guards did not understand his words, but they understood his posture. One guard stepped forward and pointed toward the shadows behind Ethan. "Move," the guard ordered. Ethan did not move. The guard's eyes narrowed. He stepped closer. Ethan felt his heart beating hard, but his face stayed calm. He had stood like this before on battlefields, in ruined cities. In front of people who believed power gave them the right to take. He would not step aside. One drone floated lower, its red eye scanning. Lyra felt fear rush through her. She pulled Myra closer and whispered, "Please." Ethan heard the fear, even without understanding the words. Slowly, he reached behind him and touched the ground once, softly. A signal to stay still. Then he looked at the guards again. "Children," he said firmly, pointing behind him. "Not criminals." The guards exchanged looks. One laughed. "Those are not children," the guard said coldly. "They are waste." That word hit Ethan harder than any weapon. Waste. He remembered history lessons from Earth. He remembered when humans once used that word too. He remembered where it led. Ethan straightened his back. "No," he said quietly. "They are lives." The drone beeped sharply, a warning. The guards raised their weapons slightly, for one long second. No one moved. Then Ethan did something unexpected. He removed his weapon and placed it on the ground. The guards froze. Ethan spread his hands again. "If you want them," he said. Voice steady, "You go through me." Lyra stared at him in shock. No one had ever done that for them. The guards hesitated. Humans were dangerous, yes, but this one was alone. Still, something about his calm made them unsure. One guard stepped back. "We will return with orders," he said. The guards turned and walked away. The drone floated up and disappeared into the night. The alley was quiet again. Lyra's legs gave out. She sank to the ground, shaking. Myra stirred and opened her eyes. Ethan slowly picked up his weapon and knelt beside them. "It's okay," he said softly. Lyra looked up at him, tears shining in her eyes. "You could have left," she said. Ethan nodded. "Yes, why didn't you?" Ethan looked toward the sky, where no stars could be seen. "Because leaving is easy," he said. "Staying is what matters." Time passed slowly. Ethan knew they could not stay there. The guards would return. Next time, they might not hesitate. He activated his wrist device again. The blue light blinked faster now, somewhere far above the planet. A human ship listened. Ethan gathered the sisters gently. "We have to move," he said. They traveled through old service tunnels beneath the city. The tunnels were dark and quiet, forgotten by the rich streets above. Lyra followed closely, trusting him now without question. As they walked, Ethan spoke quietly, telling them simple stories. Stories about Earth, about oceans, About rain that fell freely on everyone. Mira listened with half-open eyes. I want to see that, she whispered. Ethan smiled sadly. One day, they reached an old exit door near the edge of the city. Ethan stopped. He knelt in front of the sisters. I made a promise today, he said. Not with words, with my actions. Lyra nodded. Above them, a faint light appeared in the sky. A human signal. Help was coming. But Ethan knew something else too. When humans arrived, the city would have to choose. Change. Or be exposed. And that choice would begin with two small sisters who once cried alone in the street. Asterisk. The ground trembled gently under Ethan's feet. At first, it felt like distant thunder. Then the air itself began to vibrate. Lyra looked up at the dark sky, her eyes wide with fear and wonder. Mira clutched her sister's hand, her fingers tight. Lights appeared above the city. Not one, not two, many. They moved in perfect order, silent and calm. Large shapes formed against the night, blocking the glowing towers of Zero Prime. These ships did not rush. They did not threaten. They simply arrived. Alien alarms began to cry across the city. Red lights flashed on buildings. Drones flew fast, trying to understand what was happening. Ethan exhaled slowly. They heard me, he whispered. The sisters did not understand the words, but they felt the change. The air felt different now. The city, once proud and loud, suddenly felt small. A powerful voice echoed across Zero Prime, translated into every language. This is the human fleet. We come in peace. We come for truth. People stopped moving. Guards froze. Market screens flickered and changed to show the human symbol. Lyra felt her knees weaken. Are they here to fight? She asked softly. Ethan shook his head. Humans fight when they must, he said. But first, we listen. A large human ship descended near the city center. Unlike the first ship, this one was massive and smooth, glowing with soft white light. Its landing did not shake the ground. It felt controlled, respectful. From the ship came humans, men and women in clean uniforms. Their faces were serious but not angry. They walked openly, hands away from weapons. Alien leaders arrived quickly. Tall, decorated, surrounded by guards. Their voices were sharp, their movements nervous. Ethan stood beside the sisters as the groups met. An alien leader spoke loudly. You have no right to land here. A human commander stepped forward. Her voice was calm and clear. We received a distress signal, she said. From one of our own. She looked at Ethan, and from what we see, she continued, it was sent for a reason. The commander's eyes moved to the sisters. The crowd followed her gaze. For the first time, the entire city saw them. Two small aliens, thin, tired, afraid, whispers spread. The alien leader tried to turn away. They are nothing, he said. Low value. The human commander's eyes hardened. On Earth, she said, we measure value differently. She walked closer to the sisters and knelt. Lyra felt fear again, but the human woman smiled gently. What is your name? The commander asked. Lyra answered quietly. Mira hid behind her. The commander stood and faced the alien leaders. These children were starving in your richest district, she said. Explain that. Silence. Screens across the city suddenly changed. Human drones had connected. Images appeared, recordings from earlier that day. The sisters crying. Aliens walking past. Guards talking about removal. The city watched its own shame. Gasps filled the air. The alien leader shouted angrily, "This is an internal matter." The commander did not raise her voice. "When children are hurt," she said, "there's nothing internal about it." Human supply units moved forward. Food, water, medical kits. Mira stared in disbelief as warm food was placed in her hands again. She smiled. A small, honest smile. That smile spread through the crowd like fire. Some aliens looked away. Some lowered their heads. Ethan watched quietly. His chest felt tight. This was why he stayed. The human commander turned to him. "You did the right thing," she said. Ethan shook his head. "I just stopped walking." Above them, the fleet held position, silent but powerful. Zero Prime stood at a moment it could not escape. The city could no longer pretend. The sky had answered. And nothing would ever be hidden again. Morning came slowly to Zero Prime. The sky was lighter, but the city felt heavier. Human ships still floated above, quiet and patient. They did not move closer. They did not leave. Their presence was calm, yet impossible to ignore. In the city center, a large open hall filled with aliens of every rank. Leaders stood in decorated robes. Guards lined the walls. Screens showed human and alien symbols. Side by side. At the front stood the human commander. Beside her stood Ethan. And in the center of the hall, holding hands, stood Lyra and Mira. The sisters felt small in such a large place. Thousands of eyes watched them. Mira squeezed Lyra's hand tightly. Lyra stood straighter, remembering the promise Ethan had made. The human commander spoke first. "We did not come to rule," she said clearly. "We came because children cried, and no one answered." The words echoed through the hall. An alien leader stepped forward. His voice was sharp with pride. "Our world has rules," he said. "Weak ones cannot slow progress." Ethan felt anger rise. But he stayed silent. The commander looked directly at the leader. "Progress without kindness," she said, "is just another form of failure." Murmurs spread through the crowd. Screens lit up again. This time they showed data, numbers, images of empty districts, lists of missing families, names. So many names. Lyra recognized some. Friends, neighbors. They were removed. The alien leader said defensively, "For order." Mira's small voice broke the silence. "My mother made soup," she said softly. She was not disorder. The hall went quiet. The alien leader looked away. That one sentence did what no speech could do. The human commander turned to the crowd. "You have a choice," she said. "Change how you treat the weak, or lose human trust, trade, and protection." The words were not a threat. They were a fact. Zero Prime depended on human trade routes, on shared technology, on safety agreements. The leaders whispered urgently among themselves. Time passed. Finally, the highest leader stepped forward. His voice was slow. "We will change," he said. "The system will be reviewed." The commander did not smile. "Words are easy," she said. "Actions matter." At her signal, human teams moved forward. They were not soldiers. They were doctors, builders, and record keepers. Food centers opened across the city. Medical ships landed. Families were searched for. Names were restored. For the first time, Zero Prime helped its own forgotten people. Lyra watched in disbelief as screens showed new laws being announced. Equal food access, child protection orders, end of forced removal. Mira tugged Ethan's sleeve. "Is it over?" she asked quietly. Ethan knelt beside her. "It's the beginning," he said. Later that day, Ethan stood alone on a balcony overlooking the city. He watched children eat together in the streets below. Children of all kinds. The human commander joined him. "You changed a world," she said. Ethan shook his head. "They did," he replied. Looking at the sisters. The commander nodded. "We're offering you a choice too," she said. "Come back with us, or stay as an observer." Ethan looked down at Zero Prime. He thought of the sisters, of the city's pain, of what healing really meant. "I'll stay," he said. "Someone needs to make sure promises are kept." The commander smiled slightly. That sounds like a human, she said as night fell again. Human ships slowly moved higher into the sky, not leaving. Just watching, Zyra Prime felt different, still broken, but trying, and for the first time in a long time. The city understood something important. The weakest voices had changed everything. Zyra Prime no longer felt like the same city. Weeks had passed since the day the human fleet arrived. But the change was still fresh, still fragile. The tall towers were the same, and the lights still filled the sky. Yet something inside the city had shifted. The streets were louder now, not with machines, but with children. Lyra and Mira walked together through the market where they once sat hungry and afraid. This time, they were not in the shadows. Warm light touched their faces. Food stalls welcomed them. No one looked away. Mira held a small sweet in her hand. She took careful bites, smiling between each one. It still tastes real, she said. Lyra laughed softly. It is real. Near the market, a sign glowed in clear letters. No child left UNSC. Ian stood nearby, watching quietly. He wore no armor now, only simple human clothing. Most aliens still noticed him, but not with fear. With respect. A group of young aliens ran past him, laughing. Ethan smiled to himself. Change did not arrive with fire or force. It arrived with food, safety, and choice. The sisters' parents were never found. That truth still hurt. Some nights, Mira cried softly. Lyra held her then, just like before, but now there was warmth, light, and people who cared. Ethan helped arrange a small home for them near the outer gardens. A place with open air and real soil. Mira loved the soil most. She said it felt alive. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the towers, Lyra sat beside Ethan. Why do humans help? She asked. Ethan thought carefully. Because we learned the hard way what happens when we don't, he said. Lyra nodded. Understanding more than her age should allow. Soon. The time came for the human fleet to leave. Not in anger, not in victory, but in peace. The city gathered in the central plaza. Humans and aliens stood together. No guards. No weapons raised. The human commander addressed the crowd. We will return, she said. Not to watch over you, but to walk beside you. Applause filled the air. Mira ran forward suddenly and hugged Ethan tightly. Don't go, she said, her voice breaking. Ethan knelt and hugged her back. I won't be far, he said. And you won't be alone again. He gave her a small human badge. Simple metal. A star etched into it. That star means someone noticed, he said. Never forget that. Mira held it like treasure. As the human ships rose into the sky, the city watched in silence. Light reflected off metal. The stars above seemed brighter. Lyra looked up and whispered, they look like tears. Ethan followed her gaze. No, he said softly. They look like promises. That night, Zyra Prime placed 2 small lights on top of its highest tower. Not for power. Not for status. For memory. For the sisters. For every child who once cried unseen. Years later, travelers would ask why humans were welcomed across the galaxy. The answer was simple. Because when 2 hungry, alien sisters cried, humanity stopped walking, and the universe changed forever.